It was one of those chilly autumn mornings when the leaves crunched under your feet and the air smelled faintly of wood smoke. Sarah had just returned from her early jog, tying her sneakers and sipping a hot cup of coffee, when she noticed something unusual. Across the street, her elderly neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, was struggling to carry a heavy grocery bag up the narrow steps to her front porch. Her hands shook, and her frail body swayed under the weight of the bag. Without thinking twice, Sarah grabbed her coat and hurried across the street. She called out gently, "Mrs. Thompson, let me help you with that." The woman's eyes widened in surprise, but then a warm smile spread across her face, like a flicker of sunlight through the clouds. Sarah felt a strange tug in her chest, a mix of compassion and curiosity, as she took the bag from her neighbor and carried it inside. Little did she know, that small act of kindness would soon lead to a moment she would never forget. Before we dive into the story, make sure you subscribe to Kindness Story Hub, hit the like button, and share your thoughts in the comments below. This channel is all about celebrating the incredible power of kindness, and we'd love for you to be part of our community. Sarah had always admired Mrs. Thompson from afar. The elderly woman lived alone since her husband had passed away a few years ago, and her 2 children lived across the country. Sarah knew little about her neighbor beyond the brief greetings over the fence or the occasional hello in the mailbox. But today, seeing her struggle with those grocery bags, something in Sarah's heart compelled her to step closer. "Let me help you put these away," Sarah said softly, entering the small, cozy house. The interior smelled faintly of cinnamon and old wood. Pictures of a younger Mrs. Thompson with her family lined the walls, and a well-worn armchair sat by the window, bathed in morning light. "Thank you, dear," Mrs. Thompson said, her voice shaky but filled with genuine gratitude. "I didn't want to bother anyone, but it's been harder lately." Sarah smiled, feeling the truth of her words. "You're not bothering me at all. I'm happy to help." As Sarah placed the groceries on the counter, she noticed the small details of Mrs. Thompson's life, the neatness of her kitchen, the little jars of spices labeled in her careful handwriting, and the faded photographs capturing moments of joy, laughter, and love. There was something almost magical about the quiet life this woman had led, and Sarah realized that beneath the frailty of age, there was a lifetime of stories waiting to be heard. Over the next few minutes, as they organized the groceries together, Sarah struck up a conversation. She learned that Mrs. Thompson loved gardening but hadn't tended to her backyard in months. She heard about her grandchildren, the trips she used to take, and the cozy little bookstore she had run with her husband years ago. Sarah listened intently, captivated by every story, every laugh, and even every sigh of nostalgia. Then, Mrs. Thompson paused, looking at Sarah with a twinkle in her eye. "You know," she said, "it's not often someone just comes over to help without expecting anything in return. You remind me a lot of my daughter when she was younger." Sarah felt a warmth spread through her chest. "I just wanted to help," she replied, brushing off the praise. It seemed like the right thing to do. Mrs. Thompson smiled and handed her a small, hand-knitted scarf. "Here, for you. I made it a while back. It's nothing fancy, but it's made with care." Sarah held the scarf in her hands, feeling the love woven into every stitch. She thanked Mrs. Thompson, but in that moment, she realized something profound. Acts of kindness, no matter how small, had the power to connect lives, to create ripples that neither person could predict. Over the following weeks, Sarah found herself stopping by more often. Sometimes she brought fresh bread from the bakery, other times she helped prune Mrs. Thompson's garden, and occasionally they would just sit together, sipping tea and talking about life. Their friendship grew quietly, like a garden slowly blooming, and Sarah couldn't help but feel that these small acts of care were shaping something bigger than either of them could have imagined. One rainy afternoon, Sarah knocked on Mrs. Thompson's door with a tray of homemade cookies. She found the elderly woman sitting by the window, staring out at the garden with a wistful expression. "You've been quiet today," Sarah said, placing the cookies on the table. Everything okay? Mrs. Thompson sighed. It's just, my knees are worse than usual. I feel so useless sometimes. Sarah took her hand gently. You're not useless. You've given so much in your life, and now it's okay to accept a little help. That doesn't make you any less remarkable. Mrs. Thompson's eyes glistened with tears. You're too kind, she whispered that evening. As Sarah left to head home, she felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Helping Mrs. Thompson had started as a simple gesture, but it had grown into a meaningful friendship. Yet, neither of them knew that this small bond would soon lead to a surprise neither could have anticipated. A few weeks later, Sarah received an unexpected invitation in the mail. It was handwritten, on thick cream-colored stationery, and the familiar handwriting of Mrs. Thompson made her heart skip a beat. Dear Sarah, I would be honored if you would join me for a little gathering at my home this Saturday afternoon. I have something special I'd like to share with you. Warmly, Mrs. Thompson. Curious and slightly nervous, Sarah marked her calendar. Saturday couldn't come fast enough. When the day arrived, she dressed in her favorite sweater and walked across the street, the autumn air crisp and golden. Mrs. Thompson greeted her at the door, a wide smile on her face. But it wasn't just the smile, it was the excitement, the kind of spark that seemed to radiate warmth into the entire room. She led Sarah into the living room, where a small group of people had gathered, neighbors, friends, and even some unfamiliar faces who looked genuinely happy to be there. Surprise! Mrs. Thompson exclaimed. I wanted to show you how much your kindness has meant to me, and how it has inspired others as well. Sarah looked around in astonishment. The room was filled with photographs and letters from people Mrs. Thompson had helped over the years. Each note told a story of gratitude, a ripple of kindness that Sarah had never imagined. There were letters from former students, neighbors, and even strangers who had been touched by Mrs. Thompson's generosity. And right there, in the center of it all, was a beautiful scrapbook, carefully compiled and labeled, with a special page dedicated entirely to Sarah and the difference she had made. Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes. She had come to help an elderly neighbor with a grocery bag, never expecting that her small act of kindness would blossom into something so extraordinary. She realized that kindness, once shared, has a way of multiplying, of touching lives far beyond what we can see. Mrs. Thompson handed her a small card. You see, dear, she said softly, it's not about grand gestures or big events. It's about showing up, offering your time, your heart, and your care. That's how we create magic in the world. Sarah hugged her tightly, overwhelmed by the love and appreciation. In that moment, she understood something essential. Kindness is not just a fleeting action, it's a legacy. Every smile, every helping hand, every small gesture has the potential to transform a life, often in ways we could never imagine. As Sarah left Mrs. Thompson's house that day, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. She walked through the neighborhood, looking at the people around her with fresh eyes, noticing opportunities to help, to connect, to brighten someone's day. The world felt a little warmer, a little more alive, because she had witnessed firsthand the ripple effect of genuine care. In the weeks and months that followed, Sarah continued to visit Mrs. Thompson, and together, they found ways to make their neighborhood a kinder place. They organized small acts of community service, helped other neighbors in need, and encouraged everyone to embrace the simple yet powerful principle that kindness matters. And through it all, Sarah remembered the very first morning she had crossed the street to help Mrs. Thompson with a grocery bag. A small moment, almost insignificant at the time, had sparked a chain reaction of love, generosity, and human connection. It was a lesson she would carry with her forever. So, the next time you see someone struggling, don't hesitate. Offer a hand, a smile, or even just a moment of your attention. You never know what kind of magic you might unleash. Kindness is contagious, and it grows in ways that surprise us, touches hearts we might never expect, and creates stories worth telling. Sarah's story reminds us all that helping someone isn't just an act, it's a gift. And sometimes, that gift comes back to us in the most beautiful, unexpected ways. Remember, the smallest gesture can create the biggest impact. Let kindness be your guide, and watch how it transforms not only the lives of others but also your own.